Welcome back, third grade scientists. This week in science, you will be reviewing the lessons and material you learned during Unit 3, Habitats and Change. Today, your job as scientists and learners is to self-assess your learning from this unit. So today, I'm here to help you along with that task and give you some good advice for good self-assessment. Self-assessment is asking yourself, how can I check my own understanding of what I learned in this science unit? Can I explain my thinking and learning to others? Do I still have questions about my learning? Do I feel ready to answer questions about these objectives and this topic? Here are some ways to think about your learning. When you're looking over your objectives or material from this unit, and you're reading it and you're getting that feeling inside, like I get this, and you can almost feel a smile coming on your face and giving yourself a thumbs up, that's showing that you have good understanding of what you've learned. If you're reading through the material or the objectives and you're thinking, I remember some of this and I think I can explain some of it, but I still have some questions and I don't think I quite get everything. Think about those questions so that you can explore the answers and move yourself to the I get it. If you're reading through the material and the objectives and you don't remember much of it and you're getting that nervous feeling in your stomach, like I'm stuck and I really need help and I don't get this, then you're going to ask yourself, what are some ways that I can review the material? What resources do I have that I can go back to, that I can move myself up to the I get it and understand what I'm learning a little bit better? Remember, any of these ways to think about your learning, if you're really true and honest with yourself, you're doing good self-assessment. So good learners have what we call a growth mindset. In other words, they're growing their brain and building their brain muscles, and we do this throughout our entire lives. Good learners with a growth mindset are honest with themselves about their learning. They know it's okay to have questions or to admit when they don't understand something. They think about something that's difficult and turn it into a lesson. When they think something is too hard, they don't think too hard. They say, this is worthwhile for me to try to learn it. When they say, I don't know this, instead of saying, I don't know, they turn that into, I don't know, but I'm going to find out. And when they have a problem with their learning, they look at that as an opportunity to learn something new, not a chance to give up. Okay, so here we go. Today you will read and reflect on the lesson objectives for this unit. You will ask yourself, can I explain this objective to someone else? Can I give examples from this lesson? Do I still have questions about the lesson? Remember, as you're doing this work, take your time. This is hard work. Take breaks when you feel tired. This thinking is hard work, but you can do it. Okay, so let's try one together. I will model my thinking and self-assessment for one of the learning objectives. I am going to model my thinking through all the phases of self-assessment, whether I get it, I still have questions about it, or I really don't understand. For each of your objectives, you will see a slide like this. Your directions are, for each topic, put an X in the box that describes how well you have met the learning target. Then write a question you still have for your teacher if you need help, or if there is something you're still wondering about. So that's important. Even learners that say they know this well or they get it may still have questions that they want answered in order to further their learning, or things that they're wondering about that maybe they haven't learned yet about this topic. That's growth mindset. Not only the students who feel like they need help have questions, anybody, any learner could still have questions about the learning targets. Okay, so let's practice. Remember, if I know this well, you're getting that thumbs up, I feel great feeling. If you know some of it, but still have some questions or really feel nervous that you don't remember this, then you're in the need help category and you're doing great work by recognizing that. Ask yourself some questions and think about what work you could go back to learn more about the topic. Okay, so let's give it a try. And remember, this takes time. It's not just about checking off the boxes. Okay, so I'm going to assess my learning on this learning target. Let's see what it is. I can present an argument with evidence demonstrating that in a specific habitat, some animals or plants are adapted to survive and reproduce, while other organisms cannot survive. Okay, so there were a lot of words in that learning target, but I'm thinking about what I learned about habitats and adaptations of plants and animals. And I remember learning about polar bear adaptations and how polar bears live in really cold climates like the Arctic region, where plants, palm trees, grass cannot grow because it is so cold. But polar bears can survive just fine there because their bodies are adapted to the cold. For instance, they spend a lot of time in the Arctic Ocean. They eat seals, which they have to dive and swim for, so that makes them really good swimmers. Their body is covered with hair, which protects them from the cold. They even have a special hair called guard hair that protects them when they get wet in the cold water. Their bodies are covered with black skin, which is good for absorbing the heat from the sun. Their body is also covered with a layer of blubber, which holds in the heat in their body and keeps them from getting too cold. Because of all these adaptations of their body, they are able to survive in that cold climate, while other plants and animals could not live there because it's too cold. So I think I can check off, I know this well. I was able to give a specific habitat. I was able to name a specific animal and examples of how it can survive and why other plants could not survive there. A question I have is, do the other animals that live in that region, do they have similar adaptations on their body as the polar bear? Do they have black skin as well? Do they have special hair? I would love to research and find out more about that. Okay, so you watched me assess myself and giving examples of how I knew this learning target really well. And I think at the end of the week, if I could do all that explanation, I can do really well on an assessment on this target. Let's try another example. And I'm going to assess myself as if I may need some help on this learning target. So let's try that again. I can present an argument with evidence demonstrating that in a specific habitat, some animals or plants are adapted to survive and reproduce, while other organisms cannot. Okay, that was a lot of words, but I remember the word habitat has to do with where animals live. And I know some habitats can be cold and some can be warm or hot or dry. I don't know if I can name a specific animal with specific adaptations. I'm having a hard time thinking of examples. Like I know that a palm tree couldn't grow where there's ice and snow, but I'm having a little trouble thinking of a specific animal that has specific adaptations to survive. So I'm going to jot that down as a question to ask. And I'm going to see if I can go back in my lessons on this learning target to remind myself of some examples. So for that example, I could tell that I needed some help. I had some idea of the target, but I still had some questions and want to go back and do some review. So I definitely would put an X in this box and jot down my questions and ways that I could find that information. Let's try this one more time. I can present an argument with evidence demonstrating that in a specific habitat, some animals or plants are adapted to survive and reproduce, while other organisms cannot survive. Yikes. I don't remember this lesson at all. I think I know what a habitat is. I think it has to do with where they live, but I don't even remember different types of habitats or how plants and animals live or thrive or survive in them. So I'm definitely going to have to go back to this lesson and look it over. And a question I have for my teacher are, what are some good books or resources I could look at to remind myself of what I learned during this learning target? Okay, so you saw me give an example of when I really don't get this. I really could not give an example. I didn't remember the lesson at all. So I want to ask my teacher, where can I go back to find this information so that I'm ready for my assessment at the end of the week? Remember, third grade scientists, you've got this. You're going to exercise your brain with your growth mindset. Don't rush. Take your time and take breaks if you need to. And remember, having a growth mindset means it's okay if you still have questions or don't understand something. Take your time and do this work today. It's very important. You've got this.